Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Well, y'all are more well-behaved than the third, fourth, and fifth graders. It took me some time to get them quiet. So thank y'all for coming out tonight. Before we start tonight's meeting, though, it's with a heavy heart and profound sorrow that I share the heartbreaking news of the passing of our dear colleague and friend. Jen Hartwig, who worked in our communications department for more than 5 years, passed away this weekend after a valiant and courageous battle with cancer. As our multimedia manager, Jen was the city's lead in producing videos, capturing moments through her photography, updating the website, and so much more. Her infectious spirit brought energy, joy, and creativity to every room she entered. Jen especially loved attending city events and working with our first responders. She even joked about being a firefighter herself. Milton is a better place, and our city's government is better because of Jen. We mourn her loss and extend our deepest heartfelt condolences to her husband, Ryan, and her daughters, Nora and Emmy. You could often find Nora and Emmy at City Hall, participating in events and volunteering at Milton camps. They and Ryan will forever be a part of Milton, just like their amazing mother. And with that, I will turn it over to Billy Lowe to give the invocation. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Jameson. I'd like to express my condolences as well. As a pastor, one of the things that is inevitable is death, maybe just as much as taxes. So one of the things that Moses tells us in Psalm 90 is to teach us to number our days that we might have a heart of wisdom. J.R.R. Tolkien, the famous writer of Lord of the Rings, said that one day God's going to make all the sad things become untrue. And during Christmas season, that's our hope. We hope that Revelation 21, Jesus will one day wipe away every tear from our eyes and death will be no more. So Nora and Emma, I just want you to know that on behalf of the city of Milton and our whole faith community, we are praying for you. And I'd love to pray for you now. Heavenly Father, as we open up this city council meeting tonight, it is a joy and a privilege to be known by you, to celebrate you, to rest in the fact that the gospel of Jesus Christ is real. That you came as a baby into this world and that you lived our perfect life and died our death in our place in order to put death to death. God, that is my hope. That is our reality, and we thank you for that. We thank you for Jen and her 5 years of service here. We pray for her children and her husband. God, that you would give them a comfort and a hope and a peace. We know that you weep because we heard that Jesus wept at his friend's death. We know that you are going to wipe away every tear from our eyes. And the death will be no more, and one day you will be our God, and we will be your people, and we will dwell on this earth with no more hurt or pain or sorrow anymore, for the former things will pass away. And until that time, we ask for your comfort and your hope. So even today, Lord, as business is done, we ask for wisdom. We ask that you would give this great city what you've always given it, which is peace and prosperity. And we ask all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, December 18th, 2023 to order. The city strongly recommends that you review tonight's agenda carefully, and if you wish to speak on any item on the agenda, then please bring your comment cards to the clerk as soon as possible. While the Milton rules allow a speaker to turn in their comment card up until the clerk calls the agenda item, once the agenda item is called, no more comment cards can be accepted. Will the city clerk please call the roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the December 18th, 2023 regular council meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting who would like to make a public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card and submit to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. All comment cards received after the item has been called will not be accepted. All speakers, when called to the podium, please identify yourself by name, address, and/or organization before beginning your comment. If you are representing an organization, a notarized affidavit is required stating you have the authority to speak on behalf of that organization. Please review tonight's agenda, and if you would like to make a comment, please bring your comment cards to me now. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. Mayor and council, as I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Andrea Veerhoff.
Here.
Councilmember Paul Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Juliet Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Carol Cookley.
Here.
Councilmember Jan Jacobus. And Councilmember Rick Morrig.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, next is approval of the meeting agenda. I have a couple items. I would like to move consent agenda item number 23-333 to new business. I would also, I know we have some public comment tonight, so I'd like to remove reports and presentations item A immediately before public comment. And then I'll turn it over to our city attorney on the winery.
Chairman, and Mr. Mayor and council members, public hearing 9A, which is the 13555 Black Marl Lane alcohol beverage license. Legal ad with respect to that for this evening's public hearing was incorrect. Therefore, as a matter of ordinance, we need to move that to give us enough time to get the legal ad in. I would recommend this be moved to February 5th, 2024. I would further represent to you, I know there's individuals that may want to speak this evening. I do believe that speaking during public comment would be in order then. They will have, of course, an opportunity when it actually comes back on the agenda. It will be a public hearing on February 5th, so they would have the opportunity to speak then if they don't choose to speak this evening. But that is my recommendation based upon the legal ad being incorrect this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. With that, do I have a motion on the?
Mayor.
Yep.
No executive session this evening?
Do we have executive session?
No.
Okay.
No executive session.
All right.
With that, do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda or approve the meeting agenda as amended?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the meeting agenda as requested.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Moore and a second from Councilmember Morg to approve the meeting agenda as amended. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. So with that, we will go straight into our proclamation. The city clerk will please sound that item.
Mayor, that item is a proclamation celebrating the Milton Future Eagles football team on winning the middle school state championship. Mayor Jamison?
Thank you. It sure is fitting tonight that I read this proclamation for these young men. I know a lot of y'all in the room. As y'all grow up, y'all have been fantastic football players, and I know the varsity team, the varsity coaches are looking at you. It's fitting that they won the state championship as well. So I think our city is going to be in good hands with the future varsity program in years, I think 2030, I think is going to be your senior class. So I'm looking forward to cheering y'all on. And it is my honor to read this proclamation for you. This is a proclamation celebrating the Milton Future Eagles football team on winning the middle school state championship. Whereas Milton is one of Georgia's and the nation's hotbeds of football, regularly producing outstanding players and people who represent our community well. And whereas these superb athletes come from outstanding youth programs like the Milton Future Eagles, the feeder program for the recent Class 7A state champion Milton High School squad. And whereas this program's sixth graders recently completed a remarkable season in which their varsity and JV teams posted a combined 17-0 undefeated record. And whereas the varsity Future Eagles scored 270 points and gave up just 62 points over their entire campaign, which equates to about 25 points scored and 5 points against per contest. And whereas after capturing their region title, the Eagles advanced to the Georgia Middle School Athletic Association state championship game against the McEachern Indians. And whereas Milton scored on the first play from scrimmage and shut down the Indians on the way to a resounding 20-0 victory. And whereas the city of Milton congratulates the class of the 2030 Future Eagles on their dominant season and state championship, and we look forward to seeing where they will soar in the future. Now therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, recognize the excellence of the sixth grade Milton Future Eagles during the 2023 season, and this is given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on this 18th day of December of 2023. Congratulations. I'm gonna have Miss Tammy, are we doing one group photo, two group photos?
We're doing one group photo.
One group photo? Okay.
So if I can have, you'll present and then I'll have council stay up. Go around.
That's gotta be a couple years of ages.
Yeah, that works.
You're not perfect game.
That works.
Here, you know what? You're gonna have to squeeze a little more on there.
Might be a little.
Which one's tall? Cozy. Well, we all no. Well, I will. I know we post on Facebook, but you can have the back. Yeah, and I'll.
The only good thing.
Oh, actually, they're all in there. Okay, ready? Look up there. 3,
Big smile.
2, 1, and stay here. Oops, sorry.
3, 2, 1. You do.
But thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Just, this might be a good time, unless you want to stay for the whole meeting. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Talking about just breathing through this.
Oh my gosh, you should hold on to that.
Yeah, okay, that's what.
And a couple of we're here to celebrate.
See you later. Bye. Come on up, y'all. All right. Doors closed. Here we go. Okay, the next item is general public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We do, Mayor. We have 8.
Okay, I will read these. I will read the next into the record. The next item is general public comment. Public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the mayor and the city council and to provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during today's meeting. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. Please remember this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of the city council in conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes for remarks. The city encourages you to review the agenda, and if you wish to speak, to bring your comment cards to the city clerk right now. If the city clerk will please sound that first.
Mayor,
Comment.
I invite Miss Maria Gabriela Piscopo to the podium, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Gabriela Piscopo, and I live in 55 Providence Plantation Drive, Milton. And I am here to express my opposition to the liquor license at 13520 Black Marl Lane. To give you a little bit of perspective, I live in the neighborhood where this property is located. It's a very small gated community of 6 houses. My house, our house, is the first one after the gate. And this property is at the end of the neighborhood, which means that if a liquor license is provided, the people who will go and visit this place, which apparently it's intended to be a farm winery, they will have to go in front of our house to get to a place where they will be consuming alcohol and then driving back out. Not only that, this neighborhood is at the end of another neighborhood, so anybody getting to this winery needs to drive by and pass by houses where families with small children live. It doesn't make absolute sense for us to lose our privacy and our safety because someone wants to sell alcohol inside our neighborhood. So I strongly oppose this request.
Thank you. Can you please sound the next item?
Mayor, I invite Brian Eldix. My apologies, I'm getting your last name right.
Hi, I'm Brian Idex at 115 Gladwin Court. Hi, everybody. I wrote something down, so forgive me for the lack of eye contact. So I moved into the Gladwin neighborhood about 9 years ago into a house that backs up to the property on Black Marl Lane. I received a letter back in 2021 about a requested zoning change and wanted to understand the owner's plans for the property. So I called the owner because I've met him a couple of times and we talked for about 30 minutes or more. And it was a great conversation because, like I said, we'd met before. I asked him his plans and reason for the zoning change, and he explained that he was selling off another house that was on the property and was going to split the property for personal reasons and wanted to build a new house that he and his wife could then move into. So he explained that the only reason for the zoning change was to allow him to build a house behind an existing barn. So there's an existing barn. He wants to build a house, so he had to change the zoning to allow that to occur. And he wanted to keep the barn, of course. So I explained to him that my wife and 3 sons have really enjoyed this. We're separated by a creek between our 2 properties, and it's really pretty back there. So that was the only thing I wanted to understand is what his plans were for the property. And he expressed that he also enjoyed the land and he wanted to keep it as is and just wanted to move into the house with his wife and enjoy the property. He then mentioned that he might renovate. There's another barn further down the property that he might renovate. Just wanted to let me know that that was his other plan. So by the end of the call, I felt really comfortable. It was a great conversation. And he expressed that he simply wanted to improve the property for his wife. So as a result of that, I contacted a few of our neighbors that we all live along the creek backing up to his property, that I talked to the owner, and he told me what I just told you. And we all were happy to hear that was the plan. So we didn't really do anything else about the zoning request. Recently, there's, as you know, probably, there's a request for a liquor license. And since that call that I had about 2 years ago with the owner, I had no idea that the zoning actually had language in there that was inserted for making the property a winery or allowing it to be a winery. I had no idea that that was the case. And now he wants to request that he can serve alcohol, which makes sense for a winery, I guess. But that's both of those realities, that it was a winery and now he wants a liquor license, very inconsistent with the conversation that I had with him. And it surprised me because it was such a good, pleasant conversation. And had I known what the intentions were, what the plans were for that, I certainly would have taken different action. I would have probably had a conversation, come up and spoken at a similar conversation like this. And I would have told my neighbors as well. I don't know what their actions would have been, but and I'm sure they will speak at some point. So I want to just make my concerns known in this hearing now, based on everything that's transpired. My primary concern is, like I said, I back up to his property so I can see it when I'm sitting on the deck, when I'm out in the backyard. It's a beautiful creek back there that we've enjoyed for many years. I don't want to see events back there where there's gatherings of several people walking around. When there's a business and property, that brings activity that's not typical for a neighborhood. People out there drinking alcohol, having an event, likely music would be playing. And neighborhoods, in my mind, are places where you get away from the business activity and you go to have quiet time with your family. We moved to Milton about 9 years ago. It's a beautiful place. You guys, everybody has done a great job in the zoning. That is a primary reason we came to look up here. And I just hope that it continues to maintain that same level of zoning. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mayor, I invite Jessica Baxton to the podium.
Hello. I wanted to just kind of start out showing you guys should have a printout of our map. So you guys can kind of understand, for those who haven't been out to our property, to understand the magnitude of this venue. There's one way in and one way out into our neighborhood. It's a unique property because this front section that's in the green is Providence Plantation. I'm at 75 Providence Plantation Drive right here. This back section is Boxwood Estates. I technically am lot 9 of Boxwood Estates. Never had heard anything about what was going on until recently. The subject property is here in the red. There's a gate right here into Boxwood Estates. So I am directly affected by Jim's request to do anything on the back side of my property and the front side because the gate is right at our driveway. So just so you guys can understand. As I stated, I live in 75 Providence Plantation Drive. Our neighborhood backs up directly to Jim and his vacant property. Our driveway is at the front by the gate. My recorded property is lot 9 of Boxwood Estates. While I'm not part of the HOA, per my deed, I am here to express the concerns about our neighbor Jim Rosenberger and his request for a liquor license and opening a farm winery within a small neighborhood. Several city council members and mayor have been out to personally see the layout of our neighborhood and to hear our concerns. For that, I'm very grateful. As a person who is and will be personally affected by the decisions that Mr. Rosenberger makes on his property and the ruling from this city about what he can and can't do with his property, I'm here to state that we do not want, we as in me and my family, do not want a venue that will serve alcohol and will be holding events. As a neighbor within Providence Plantation, I do not want the impact of a possible 50 cars a day in our neighborhood. We recently had a burglary in the house next to where Mr. Rosenberger's barn is. Since their section was gated, the burglars used my driveway to come down my driveway and behind my house to enter that property. This was very concerning to me because we sit back off the road and I'm often at home by myself with the kids and stuff while my husband's at work or traveling. As a mother, knowing that my child can't get off the bus and walk home safely is very, very concerning to me. I no longer, if this gets passed, will be comfortable in saying, hey, son, go take the dog for a walk. Because the whole point of this establishment is to serve alcohol. And yes, somebody may not be leaving drunk. Some people may. If you're a 98-pound woman and you've had several 1-ounce pours that he wants to pour, it can affect you differently than a 260-pound man. As a realtor, it's in my professional opinion that having a venue like this will diminish our property values. If this were on the main road, I would say otherwise. But within a residential community, I will stand wholeheartedly that this will decrease our property values. People move to our neighborhood because it is small and it is quiet. Thank you for hearing this tonight, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the council members who have come out, the new members that are coming in. I invite you to come to our property and really understand the layout of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you please
Mayor,
call
I
the next
invite
speaker?
Sarah Moen to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Moen. My address is 130 Providence Plantation Drive. I am making a statement regarding the proposed liquor license at 13555 Black Marl Lane. I would like to start by thanking all of you for coming out and talking with us for your service to our community. I'm immensely grateful for your time. In 2018, the city performed a traffic study for our neighborhood. I have the findings, I've given them to Tammy, provided by Sarah Leaders for each of you. The results were so bad, the city warranted and installed an all-way stop at the previous two-way stop near the rear of the development. It has done little, if anything, to mitigate the problem. I bring up this traffic study for two reasons. First, when our HOA considered the installation of a speed bump on Providence Plantation Drive to quell speeding, the Boxwood Estate homeowners contacted the city with their concerns, and in turn, the city attorney said that the separate HOA for the backlots would need to be in agreement with installation, and that due to the complexities of multiple HOAs and 3 lots part of either, the petition process would be the best approach in pursuing traffic calming. That process would require 67% of affected homeowners in support. If a speed bump was deemed a hardship requiring a 2/3 petition in support, surely a liquor license affecting those same residents will be deemed a greater hardship, and the same legal principle can be applied here. If so, there are 44 homeowners, which includes the Rosenbergers, who are affected by this liquor license. I have a petition, also to Tammy, with signatures from 33 of the 44, or 75%, opposing the license. Second, our neighborhood has a city documented issue with speeding and running the now 4-way stop sign. If a liquor license is granted and Mr. Rosenberger is permitted to serve alcohol to customers on his property, those issues will be compounded and we will be forced to live with that danger. The hearing for Mr. Rosenberger's liquor license has been deferred, and we have been promised our day in court, but I hope you will begin to discuss this issue sooner. As members of our city council, you have the power, authority, and duty to take action. Please consider all the existing evidence, which includes verbal statements, hearing audio, and letters establishing Mr. Rosenberger's intentions for his winery in a residential neighborhood. Your votes will not only impact the matter at hand, but you will set a precedent for future issues concerning the safety and well-being of our neighborhoods and residents of Milton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I invite Gary Buxton to the podium.
Hello, my name is Gary Buxton. I live in 75 Providence Plantation Drive with my wife, Jessica. Here today regarding the same item around the liquor license. And we're here now rather than early in 2021, largely due to what we see as a failure in the city's process for this. So in 2021, we were sent a letter from the city and the applicant, and let me read this real quickly for you. So, dear neighbor, you are receiving this notice because you own property within 0.25 miles of 13555 Blackmore Lane, Milton. I am the owner of the subject property. We are seeking a rezoning on the property from CUP to Ag 1 to construct a new single-family residence and to allow the existing structure, barn for animals, to be in the front yard. We're inviting you to attend the public participation meeting, and then it goes through just the typical process of timing and when to join. And here's the published agenda item. The request to rezone from CUP to Ag 1 on 10.8 acres at a density of 0.092 unit per acre to construct a new single-family residence and to allow the existing accessory structure, again, barn for animals, to be in the front yard. So as you can see, there's no mention anywhere in this regarding farm, winery, liquor license, anything to the effect. In fact, whether intentional or not, the inclusion of barn for animals, we would argue that, a common citizen, especially in Milton, would assume that's the reason for the rezoning to Ag 1. You have a barn for animals. And as anyone here in Milton, one of the reasons we move up here is to be in a more rural setting. And I don't think anybody's going to object to someone building, or transitioning to Ag 1 just because they won't have animals on their property. So what's interesting, though, is although that this, the Ag 1 was regarding the barn for animals, in the March Planning Committee review, of the hour and 20 minutes spent on this agenda item, 1 hour and 10 minutes, or 90% of the time, was spent specifically focused on the winery venue and potential restrictions. With regards to these restrictions discussed, the initial staff recommendation from Robin regarding the zoning was considered, in quotes, suitable with adjacent nearby developments and zonings if approved with staff's recommended conditions, end quote, due to the fact that, quotes, use as a winery open to the public could have an adverse effect on the adjacent properties. Staff recommends that a condition be required to prohibit the property to be utilized as a winery where there are customers coming onto the property to taste purchase wine. This is because the property is located within a plotted subdivision, and to access the site, one is required to drive through Providence Plantation subdivision on a private road. This condition will eliminate commercial type traffic into the subdivision, but at the same time permit to legitimately propagate a vineyard for the production of wine. If approved with the above requirement, the proposed is consistent with nearby properties and will not adversely affect existing use or usability of the adjacent properties as described above. So it's our opinion that this initial recommendation was the proper one. And that restriction on not having customer visits not only was the correct one, but it was overruled in the actual meeting in 2021, largely, we feel, due to there was no public voice at the time to oppose it. The reason being that the public voice wasn't there because the public didn't know about it as described with the said communications. What we believe is that, what was meant to be a public hearing effectively became a private meeting between the Planning Commission and the applicant, with the committee only able to hear the voice and opinion of the applicant, and ultimately the same happened with the city council. This likely gave the impression that all the neighbors were in support, which now you can see were clearly not. The initial recommendation from the staff even states that the staff had not received any comments from the public regarding this petition, which in my mind, I imagine you guys hear all sorts of complaints for far less issues. So having something where someone is putting effectively an alcohol serving venue in the back of a neighborhood would likely raise some eyebrows when there were no complaints from the public. Taking a step back at looking at what has happened today, we aren't discussing the alcohol license tonight because a single notice in one paper included the wrong date. Why wouldn't the original 2021 hearing have been postponed because the agenda didn't include the right topic? It's my opinion, had this letter to the public or the published agenda item included any wording indicating commercial alcohol venue, you would have received the loud opposition that you're starting to get tonight, and ultimately will be at the hearing when the license is set. Just, kind of as a parting, just as from a high level, when I, mentioned to friends or those that aren't in the know what I'm doing here at the committee, and I'm mentioning to them, I'm trying to oppose a liquor serving farm winery in the back of my neighborhood, they all look at me like, I can't even believe that's actually what you're going there for. So just for context. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor, I invite Jim Rosenberger to the podium, please.
Hello. Name is Jim Rosenberger. I'm the applicant for the farm winery. Obviously, we've deferred this to another meeting. I really just came here to say we hear all the complaints, we understand them. I think when the original zoning was approved unanimously by the city council and the mayor, the city council recognized it was a unique situation, and as a result, put in certain guardrails. Things like no more than 10 people at a time. No one's driving up and coming to your winery. They need to book appointments, put a credit card in. We know the people coming there. As the other person mentioned, during that public hearing, 110 minutes were devoted to the winery. We didn't expect that, but we were very transparent about it from the start. So I guess my message to city council and the community is that we're not here to do anything that's going to not be a safe, good value for the community, for the city. Unlike one person said, these are going to decrease property values. I was a licensed real estate at one point. I have been in real estate my whole life. We think it'll increase property value. For those of the people that have been to the property, their description is, this is a park. This is not a pub, it's a park. A couple of council members have been there. We have a lake with 2,000 stocked fish. We have farm animals. It's set back on 18 acres away from everybody. And when you consider that only 10 people would be there at a time, I'm not sure what type of nuisance that would create. There's obviously an issue with speeding. That doesn't really affect us. And in fact, I've mentioned to some of the community members that we would be happy to invest in some speed mitigation technology, whether the speed bumps, and we'll pay for them, whether it's a sign that says, you're going too fast, whatever the modality is, we would be up to sponsoring that. In regard to drunk driving, I'm a huge advocate of not drinking and driving. I was a 7-year-old boy who woke up one day and my dad wasn't there because he was killed that night in an alcohol-related accident. So I don't drink and drive. I don't support drinking and driving. And so to easy categorize us as we're going to be putting drunk drivers on the road, I think is an unfair statement, personally. I am here to say we want to work with the community. We want to work with the city council. We think we're providing something of great value, a high-end tasting experience by appointment only in a park-like setting. We think it's a good thing. So thank you for the time. I'm sure we'll be seeing you in a couple of months, but once again, we're here to do the right thing. And that's really, for my wife and I's, from the bottom of our heart. So,
Mr. Rosenberg, can you state your address for the record?
Yes, sir. 13555 Black Merrill Lane, Milton, Georgia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, next public comment is Mary Cronk. I invite you to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Mary Cronk, and I live at 600 Hickory Mill Lane in Milton. And this evening, I want to recognize and thank Paul Moore and Rick Morig. Those of us who thankfully call Milton home have truly benefited from the over 17 years each of hard work and dedication that you've given to our city. Your decisions were guided by your depth of knowledge and your understanding of what makes Milton special and unique. Your decisions, Paul and Rick, along with the decisions of those who came before you and worked with you over the years, are a huge part of the reason why Milton is consistently named one of the best cities in which to live. That didn't happen by accident. And with a few seemingly small moves in the wrong direction, the Milton we love today may not exist. And it wasn't only your hard work and dedication, it was the sacrifice your families made for our city that allowed you to serve Milton for all those years. and I truly appreciate the sacrifices they made for our benefit. People say that you don't know someone's true character until they're faced with adversity. And it's no secret that you both have faced challenges this year, but you both face those challenges with dignity and grace, refusing to compromise your deeply held principles. And I admire you for that. You will both be fondly remembered for your leadership and tremendous contributions to Milton. And I hope each day as you travel through Milton, you have a sense of pride and accomplishment for the wonderful city that you both played a significant role in creating. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Mayor, the final public comment is Stuart Teal. I invite you to the podium.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Stuart Thiel. I own property at 950 Landrum Road. I am here in kind of two forms, one as a mountain bike enthusiast and one as a mountain bike advocate. I am the Vice President for the Roswell Alpharetta Mountain Bike Organization. We are an organization over 500 members that manages mountain bike trails through MOU agreements with the City of Roswell, City of Alpharetta, and Forsyth County. We have over 25 miles of trail across 5 different city-owned parks, or city or county parks. And we are here requesting that mountain biking be considered as an additional use as you go through your master planning overhaul of your green spaces that are currently unprogrammed or unassigned for users. The reason that I'm here today is really because of the youth organizations and the youth teams that are here for mountain biking competitions that live in Milton. They do not currently have a facility within city limits that they can practice on. The sport of mountain biking in the past 5 to 10 years has really exploded, and the team aspect of it has really taken root here in Georgia. We have riders that live here that are traveling 30, 40, maybe an hour, multiple times a week to go meet their teams to practice, whether it be in Woodstock or in Roswell or up to Forsyth County, some down into Atlanta. And we would request that you consider anywhere from 4 to 8 miles of trail at a park dedicated for mountain bike use, that these teams and residents can come and practice and enjoy the green space in a passive manner. We are here to try to support that effort. If we can provide any coaching or become a liaison between the team, landowner, trail builder, trail designer, and provide any feedback of how we've managed the trails for our other municipalities, we'd be happy to do that. But just want to put this on your radar and see if we can help. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question of Mr. Teal? Just a quick question. Are you aware of any members of your cycling community, which is a little bit different than just the cycling community we oftentimes hear from? Do you have a voice on any of our boards or our committees at this point? Not Milton Trails and Parks, or?
Not as an off-road cycling user.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
You have representation here for the road cyclists, yes, but not dedicated for the off-road cycling.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Mayor, that concludes general public comment.
Okay, I'll close public comment and we will move on to consent agenda. Will the city clerk please sound the items?
Mayor, that first item is approval of the December 4th, 2023 regular city council meeting minutes. Agenda item number 232330. Next is approval of a construction services agreement between the city of Milton and Blunt Construction, Inc. for fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24 and T-Splosh asphalt reconstruction and resurfacing. Agenda item number 233331. C is approval of an agreement between the City of Milton and Loomis Armored US LLC for the Safe Point system for deposits handling at the City of Alpharetta Jail and City of Milton Public Safety Center. Agenda item number 233332. Next is approval of a construction management at risk agreement between the City of Milton and Cooper and Company General Contractors, Inc. for construction management at risk services for Milton Fire Station 45. Agenda item number 23334. F is approval of a services agreement and addendum number 1 with Policy Confluences, Inc., Polco, to conduct a Milton version of the National Community Survey. Agenda item number 23335. G is approval of change order number 2 with Triscapes, Inc. for Public Works Maintenance and Operations Services Agreement. Agenda item number 23336. H is approval of change order number 2 with Pond and Company, Inc. to provide additional design effort, permitting, and construction services for the Morse Road widening project. Agenda item number 23337. Next is approval of a services agreement between the City of Milton and Honest Skies Services, LLC for commercial duct and HVAC cleaning at Milton Fire Station 43 and Bethwell Community Center. Agenda item number 23338. J is approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Milton and Fulton County for the provision of animal control services. Agenda item number 23339. Our final consent agenda item is K, approval of the financial statements and investment report for the period ending October 31st, 2023. Agenda item number 23340. Mayor Jameson.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. The city clerk will please sound the next item.
Mayor, that next item is recognition of council members Paul Moore and Rick Morrig. Mayor Jameson.
Thank you. I probably, Ms. Cronk probably couldn't have said it any better. You know, I'm honored to give these proclamations to council members Moore and Morrig. They've been dedicated servants to this community for 17 years. And I think we all know when you take public office, your family sacrifice, you sacrifice time away from work. It's a big, big deal. And I appreciate everything that y'all have done for this community. You made it a better place. So thank you. We will first do a proclamation for Paul Moore, and then we'll do a proclamation for Councilmember Morrig. And we'll do photos and plaques and all that good stuff, okay? So this is a proclamation honoring Paul Moore for his service to the city of Milton. Whereas Paul Moore is a longtime Milton resident who has demonstrated time and again his love for and commitment to this community. And whereas he demonstrated this passion prior to Milton's incorporation advocating for this area at Fulton County Commissioner meetings, and whereas afterwards, then Mayor Joe Lockwood appointed Moore as his representative on the Planning Commission. And whereas Moore would serve 13 years on the Planning Commission, 9 of them as its chair, playing a pivotal role in numerous key land use, planning, and other matters. And whereas voters elected Moore to the City Council in November 2019, following his campaign focused on preserving Milton's rural character and abiding by the city's established land use plan and policies. And whereas he has been a thoughtful, inquisitive, and passionate council member over the last 4 years, including the last 2 as mayor pro tem. And whereas Paul has brought to the council a sharp intellect, strong viewpoint, and unique perspective shaped by senior sales management roles for Fortune 500 companies, and especially being father to 3 wonderful children who grew up in Milton. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, hereby recognize and with heartfelt gratitude thank Paul Moore for his dedicated service to the city of Milton and to its citizens, given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on this 18th day of December 2023. Thank you.
Well, no, and then
Is there an
Kathy.
Move over. And everyone, let's see, get everyone behind you is here, back. Just scoot this, Andrew, just a little bit this way. There. Thank you. Perfect. One. Perfect. Thank you.
Would you like to bring something for a picture of our supporters? No one go for a picture? Anybody who are trying to be in the picture?
Don't be shy.
And you have to be, you can't just be Larry. Did I throw you for a loop on that? I guess so.
See. All right. Even there. Oh, so many people. Good. People have to get cozy. Oh no. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's good. Whoever can kneel down gets some points. So can you? Okay, you know what? Can you just scoot? I think basically that's the edge. Then that's I get everyone there.
That's a sign.
Okay, look this way. 3, 2, 1.
The floor is yours.
I hope I can do this. Kurt Nolte has promised to come forward and slap me like a little kid if I get too emotional, but thank you all. I only have about 10,000 words to say thank you. So I'll do my best to get through it as fast as possible. But it's so humbling and overwhelming to have all of you here this evening who have been from so many different walks of life as we have walked through the seasons of Milton. You know, there were the days pre-Milton where I've got a long list of people to thank, and I have written some names down, so bear with me on some of these. But, you know, front row, Larry Johnstone, Julian Bill Bailey, Mark and Suzanne Cassida, Mary Cronk, Courtney Hensley, Kim Horn, Jack Miller, who I don't think is here this evening, who was my campaign manager first time around, an absolute phenom. Ron and Mary Kay Gilbert, who couldn't be here this evening. Laura Bentley, Curtis Mills, who was an early adopter of the vision for Milton. Mark and Mary Jane Potter, who chose to bring a business here that was flourishing in Alpharetta, but chose Milton as their next home when they were about to lose their lease or did lose their lease. Brian and Diane Maloney, Fred Edwards, who has served faithfully on the Planning Commission from the very first days, Kurt Nolte, Dan Pike, Nia Corsten, Dana Dudley, Lisa Cawley, Mark Amick, Marty Locke, Karen Dubin, Samit Shaw, and so many more than I have not named this evening, but just know that it's a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for playing the unique role that you did in helping to support me before we became a city, when we used to traipse down to Fulton County to advocate for responsible land planning up here, when we were nothing more than just a couple of ragtag team members as the BHA back then, that helped support the early visions of people in the room, like Bill Lusk and Karen Thurman, Ron Wallace, and others who helped create the vision for our city. You know, this goes back to, for me, 1998. I never imagined that my passion would turn into what it has over a postcard. I got in my kitchen one evening and reading it to ask me what I thought would be appropriate for the Birmingham Crossroads. And the proposal was for two 100,000 square foot plus grocery stores, one from Publix and one from Kroger. And we, of course, knew immediately that that was not what we wanted at that crossroads. And it was the birth of passion that has carried me for 26 years to this evening's chance to say thank you to you all. I want to thank my wife, who has been a steadfast supporter through thick and thin, some high highs and some low lows. This last 2 years has been, particularly challenging. Whoever would have guessed that my best efforts at making sure Milton stayed Milton would find itself in the crosshairs of something less than, something less not to be celebrated. But Kath, unbeknownst to all of us, is now an internet superstar with her surprise video as a part of my campaign. That was a big part of my victory, I'm sure. So thank you, Kath, for all of that, and the support of my family, my 3 kids, their tremendous spouses, and my now 8 grandchildren. People say, if you want to ask me about my grandchildren, ask early, because the party's only 4 hours long. So I want to thank staff. Those that I most often had a chance to interact with, and there are many more here that I have not named this evening, but in particular, I'd like to call out Bob Buscemi, for who, without Bob, Milton would not be so much of what it is today, because his unwavering vision and his hard work is what generates the look and feel of Milton that we know today. Tammy, thank you for your relentless effort to ensure we stay on the straight and narrow, and thank you so much for all you do to ensure it's all done so seamlessly. You're remarkable. Bernadette, thank you for being the Radar O'Reilly of Milton, the behind-the-scenes wizard that makes it happen in such a seamless way as well. You're incredible. I don't know anybody, probably never will in the rest of my lifetime, who can, with such enthusiasm, deliver hundreds of pages of accounting information to ensure that our city runs smoothly and on budget. Anita Jubin, who's a rising star in the organization. We do amazing things with her hard work. Sarah Leaders, for all your work, Sarah, behind the scenes to ensure that Milton is amazing. Rob Del Ross, what an amazing grab we got from Roswell. I think he was in the room earlier. Oh, yeah, still in the back. Thanks, Rob, for the amazing professionalism you've brought to us. Thank goodness you escaped Roswell to bring that level of professionalism here. Robin McDonald, who I don't think is here this evening, but for all the hard work that she does to ensure that Milton runs the way that it does. I'd like to take a minute and thank Joe Lockwood for the trust that Joe gave me early on, where I had a chance to serve for him on the Planning Commission. It was an amazing experience that helped give me, I think, the footing, the cornerstone for the sea legs that it was going to take to be able to see and execute the vision of the community. I'd like to thank past council members who are here this evening, Matt Coons and Bill Lusk. Bill and Matt, thank you for your vision that helped set the tone, that when it was my turn to sit in this seat, I think this seat was actually both occupied by both of you prior to me. So thank you to you both for helping set the tone for what I was able to carry on after your occupancy. I'd like to thank my fellow seated council members this evening, without which you guys are just all amazing, and I wish you all the best in continuing the vision. There's a lot of heavy lifting coming. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. I'm sure in many instances you'll be glad my question list will not be here. It'll be a whole lot shorter meetings sometimes, but thank you to all of you for the role that you have played. I'd like to thank Stacey Inglis, and you've been an amazing leader for this community as well, and thank you for the role that you've played, especially you and Tammy with the more recent elections feasibility study. Great work that is now being celebrated, even though it was an arduous task to get us across the finish line. I'd like to thank Steve Krokoff and Ken Gerard, who 99.999% of the time kept me out of trouble. But that darn 0.1 will probably haunt us all forever. But thank you for your your leadership. It's stellar, and they're helping keep me on the straight and narrow, keep me out of trouble. I'd like to thank two gentlemen in the room who will help set a tone for the future of Milton. Our newest chief, Chief Griffin, thank you for the role that you have played, and what an amazing opportunity for us to be able to promote from within to have you now lead our police force. Congratulations, and thank you, and best of luck to you for all that you'll bring forward to Milton as well. And Chief Gabe Bonamusa, if you haven't met Chief, I hope you will. He's one remarkable individual. And I get emotional when I talk about him because he is incredible in his soft, quiet leadership. There is no man more cutting edge in the industry for this, the tone he is setting for our Milton's future, that we can all go to bed at night knowing that we could not be in safer hands. I may be spilling the beans a little bit, but I think we're on the cusp of receiving an acknowledgement that will put us in the top 300 or so fire departments in the world because of his leadership. And so, Chief, thank you for your vision, execution, and the leadership that you show in your quiet, professional way every single day. Thank you. I think I missed a couple of folks, Sumit Shah and Kurt Nolte. Thank you for being both friend and council member, or I'm sorry, planning commission members together. We sure appreciate the service and the friendship that you have brought to me. And last, I'd be remiss if I did not thank the good citizens of Milton. For it's your voice that I listen to most intently, to have a chance to guide me as I sit here and cast votes on your behalf. It's one thing to participate in the council meetings. It's another to sit in board meetings and other committee meetings and get that perspective. But it's the true voice of Milton citizens that don't hesitate to call sometimes late on a Sunday evening or on a Monday morning when I've got a work meeting. But your voice has always been important. It's always been good guidance and good counsel. And I can't thank you all for helping to help keep Milton, because it's all about your voice that I have had a chance to stand and represent for these past 26 years. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Moore. Our healthy debates will be missed for sure, but I think you'll be calling me in the future.
I sure will,
So,
as a citizen.
Thank you.
Good as a voice.
Councilmember Moore, you're up. And this is a proclamation that is honoring Rick Morg for his service to the city of Milton. Whereas Rick Morg has spent countless hours before and after Milton's incorporation serving this community. And whereas this service began as a member of the Milton Organizing Committee, which laid the critical foundation, philosophy, and guidelines so that Milton could thrive. And whereas Morg was elected to serve on Milton's first city council, playing an important part in numerous key decisions that shaped the city and its future. And whereas his strong advocacy for constituents, passion for important causes like breast cancer awareness, and dedication to Milton as it progressed from a fledgling new city to a new, modern, thriving one, marked Morg's time in office. And whereas a former IBM and CH2M Hill employee and small business owner has served Milton in many ways outside City Hall as well, including through Fulton County Schools, North Point Community Church, and neighborhood associations. And whereas Rick has selflessly given countless hours of his personal time to work for and with the citizens of Milton to make this city and its residents that are proud to call home. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, hereby recognize and with heartfelt gratitude thank Rick Morg for his dedicated service to this city and to its citizens. And this is given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on this 18th day of December 2023.
Actually, behind you. Your guys are good. Actually, you know what? Scoot over. Yeah, there we go. There, now you're centered. And back, just scoot a little bit this way. That works. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you. Take you guys can do it. Cozy.
Oh,
Actually, you know what? Let's get Rick front and center. Thanks for kneeling. Appreciate it.
It's okay. Your property taxes.
That's right. That's right. We'll definitely send you a bill.
Yeah, there we go. Let's get cozy if you can.
Going between two roses. Let's look at this.
There we go. Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'm trying to do my best. One here. I'm going to try one thing.
Fair. We didn't do it just with his family.
Hey,
Not gonna
Rick.
do just one.
Yeah, we'll stand up right here. Hey, Rick, do you want to take one with just your family? Stand up.
Sure. Katie?
Greg, one more.
Donna always tries to escape.
And Rick, I'm gonna let you, for them to help you feel.
Ready? This is easier. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, you say it. You got all the time you want.
Okay, I don't know how I follow up after Paul. I can't rename all those people. What I'd like to say first of all, I'd like to thank my wife and my children who supported me throughout this whole time. And actually, I'm proud to say that my daughter Katie and her husband Chris and the 2 grandchildren made the choice to actually come back to Georgia back in the end of May, or excuse me, end of June, and to make the decision to actually be back here so that they could have our grandkids actually grow up knowing their grandparents. Chris's parents also live in Milton. And Katie told me right away, we're going to look in Alpharetta, we're going to look in Johns Creek, we're not going to look in Milton. And I said, Milton's a good place, you ought to look at it. Well, after they looked at all the other homes, they then decided that Milton was a pretty good place. So I'm proud to actually now have part of my extended family and my grandkids actually living in Milton. So tradition will continue on. My commitment's not going to change. I'm just excited to have you all here. As far as people to thank, I look back, just as Paul was involved with Birmingham Hopewell, we were trying to do a fight along Highway 9 when we saw some of the things that were coming in, and we saw that we did not have a voice with Fulton County. So we ended up forming an organization. First started out just with people meeting in my room trying to fight some high density development. with the builders, but then we later formed Bethany Area Residents Association. And that gave us more of a seat at the table. So we included Crooked Creek, Lake Laurel, 5 acres, a number of different subdivisions so that we actually could have a voice. And after a while, then the developers started to actually come and talk to us. And Don Kurt was a part of that group. We'll recognize Don a little bit later. He's my next door neighbor. But we were sitting on a Saturday when someone came up from Fulton County, met with us, and she said, "What do you guys think about a Highway 9 overlay?" And we had already asked for that, but we'd been told that we couldn't do it. And that's what we said. Well, we were told that couldn't happen. They said, "No, we think it's a great idea. This is Fulton County." So that was the beginning of the Highway 9 overlay. We actually formed it, brought in businesses. So, and that really was the start to see what could we do to actually get away from Fulton County and actually have more local control. So I want to thank Jan Jones, Ron Wallace, and the first city council who actually did a lot of the heavy lifting, and also the organizing committee. First city council was Karen Thurman, Julie Zonner Bailey, Bill Lusk, Joe Lockwood, Tina DeVersa Williams, Neil O'Brien, and then I was fortunate enough to actually be on that council also. And I look at the vision that we, at first, and Julie's probably aware, people were making fun of Milton. They said, "Oh, you'll never be anything." And we had a vision, and we said, "This is what we think we're going to be." And we sold it. We sold that vision and said, "Okay, we're going to stick to it. We're not going to try to be Alpharetta Light." No disparagement towards Alpharetta, but we wanted to be the city that we wanted to do government differently than what we had seen done before. And that was the goal when we started out, actually have more of a voice from the people, because that's what this is really about. And that's why it is important who you actually elect for city council, because they represent you. Nobody wants to come here every Monday night and have to be sitting here fighting. That's not what the goal is. So again, my thanks to that first city council. Ken Gerard, you've been with us since actually your firm since the very beginning. And then you joined us actively after the first year. So appreciate your support during that time. I want to thank the staff and previous staffs. We don't do the work. City council doesn't do the work. It's actually staff that does the work, that runs the city for us. We set the vision, we set direction, but you guys are the ones that actually carry out that vision. And sometimes we may have disagreements, and that's where there's good, healthy debate for us to actually discuss back and forth. But one person I would like to call out would be Bob Buscemi. Bob, you've made a huge difference. I remember when we first spoke, when you were working for the state and you were living in Greystone, and you told me about some of the zoning things that you understood, and the next thing I knew, Bob actually was the city architect. And Bob has actually helped us as we go forward to really, as we try to figure out how do we offset and get lower density, Bob has been a good part, even in AG1, to actually expand and have larger lots. And that was a deliberate thing that this council asked of the city staff, and Bob has done a great job of executing that. Again, I can't go through all these names. Paul, you said you were only going to say a few.
And you believed him?
I did. I really did. I took him at his word. Tammy, appreciate your work. You're always there. You show up. You've always got a smile. You're pleasant. Appreciate what you do. Your predecessor, Sudie Gordon. Sudie, I know you're not here, but Sudie made a huge difference in us moving forward as a city. She kept us on track. I relied a lot on her when I came back. I was in the first council, and then I ended up coming back in 2013. And Sudie was there. Sudie was a stalwart. And then, as Paul said, Anita Jupin too. Sarah Leaders, you've been with us forever. Appreciate you, and actually good to see you move through the ranks also. And Stacy and Tammy, I just want to say thank you for both working on the feasibility study committee, but also helping run and bring this election off. And thanks to you, Steve, too, for the first election. I know there were a lot of things where people were saying it wasn't going to work. We were not going to save money. I'm here to tell you we did save money, which was the sole focus of why we wanted to run our own elections. It was not political. It was not partisan. A lot of people tried to say it was, but I know Paul was in that fight with me too, right from the beginning. It really was about trying to save the taxpayers in Milton, no matter what your political affiliation is, trying to save money. And that's what we fought for, even as we look at, you know, reductions and senior homestead exemption increases. All those things really are about the people. So, and then I would be remiss to not mention Fred Edwards, because Fred has been with us since the very beginning on the Planning Commission, and he is, when I was out canvassing, I actually went to his house. It was great to see him again. He's one of the good people out of many good people that we have in Milton. And, you know, some people think that our best days are behind us. I really think our best days are ahead because of the people that are here, because of the citizens of Milton, the people that are engaged. You're what make the city. It's community that makes the city. So, and a priority for me when we were trying to form the city was public safety. We had nothing up here. In fact, I used to joke with my wife, and after I witnessed someone or heard about someone who they called Fulton County 911, and then Forsyth County got called, and they were arguing, it was in Deerfield, to see who was actually going to answer the call. And a gentleman unfortunately died from that heart attack. And I told my wife, if I ever have a heart attack, if you want to collect on insurance, dial 911. If you want me to live, throw me in the car, drive me to North Fulton Regional. But I'm proud to say today, when I look at our public safety, you guys have exceeded what I had ever thought. I look at, we're sitting in a fully paid city council chambers in City Hall. That's a lot of work. Bob, your fingerprints are all over this, including saving wood when we took down a big oak tree over at Broadwell Pavilion. Bob had the foresight to say, well, we can reuse this as we brand our buildings. So I'm proud to say that I'm a resident of Milton. I'm very thankful to all of you who came here tonight, and also the people, even the people I didn't mention, Paul. I included Paul's there too. But I just really, really appreciate all the hard work and the support that we've had over the years. I think I'm the last one standing of the original council. So to me, it's been a great experience. And look forward to actually watching. Good luck with the new council, but looking forward to seeing more good things happen in Milton. And I would encourage all of you, please stay engaged, because that's what really makes Milton special. But thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Moore. Thank you. Okay, will the city clerk please say on the next item?
The next item is recognition and appreciation of service to the appointed board and committee members of District 2, Post 2. Laura Bentley with BZA, Mary Cronk with DRB, Susan Kimball with Milton Equestrian Committee, Ron Gilbert with Planning Commission, Joey Costanza with the Parks Recreation Advisory Board, and Andy Bowman with the Milton Trails Advisory Committee. Councilmember Paul Moore.
Thank you. It's with great pleasure that I have the opportunity to thank each of those board appointees and commission members who have served so faithfully on behalf of all the citizens of Milton. I had the good fortune to be able to appoint this list of people to each of the boards and commissions that Tammy just noted. But I'd like to take a moment and just talk about each one of them just briefly. I'd like to thank Laura Bentley, who has served so faithfully on the Board of Zoning Appeals. I mean, as you all have known, if you know me, you know that Laura and I oftentimes are arm in arm on so many of these things that come before Milton. And there's no, it's a very important board that she sits on, because it's in many cases sort of the last bastion of someone's appeal to the city for something that may be outside our traditional ordinances or general general rules. And Laura has served not only as a council member, but has been willing to serve as a key member of the Board of Zoning Appeals. And we laughingly, with our spouses' awareness, call each other council wife and council husband, because we were oftentimes on the phone more often than we were talking to our family. But I can't thank Laura enough for her service on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Thanks, Laura. Next, I'd like to thank Mary Cronk, who has been serving on the Design Review Board. If you come to council chambers with any regularity, you see Mary at the podium, not just to speak on behalf of important things that she may be representing when it comes to the Design Review Board, but also as an engaged citizen. It was her engagement that was so attractive to me, to ensure that we could bring that voice that that professional quality, that well-spoken, articulate vision that is making sure that Milton stays on track. And she and her husband Greg actually attended the Milton Government Academy twice to ensure that they understood how the city worked. I think that you two hold that as the sole distinction so far for that program. But it's because of that level of commitment that I feel we've been well served on the Design Review Board by Mary Cronk, our little Milton firecracker, who's going to bring that energy, hopefully continue from just as a Milton citizen. Thank you very much, Mary, for your contribution. Susan Kimball isn't here this evening, but Susan has served faithfully on the Equestrian Committee, not just for my tenure on council, but I think for the entire tenure of Matt Coons's tenure on council. She's an equestrian through and through. She spoke so eloquently about the importance of the equestrian community to Milton, to ensure that voice is well heard. She brought fresh and new ideas to an industry that we so value here in Milton, and we certainly value and appreciate the role that Susan played for, I think, 8 years total on the Equestrian Committee. So thank you to Susan. She would be here this evening, but she's on a college tour with an aspiring athlete daughter, so she is on the West Coast this evening. I'd like to thank Ron Gilbert. Ron isn't able to be here this evening either, but Ron has faithfully served on the Planning Commission. If you know Ron, you know from his professional background that they don't come with much more attention to detail than Ron. Ron served us in the last round of the comprehensive plan. He was one of the leaders that helped ensure that we got that across the finish line. It was the first time we did it without a committed consultant to it, and between Ron and Todd Chernick, we were well served by their leadership. And Ron has done a lot of heavy lifting, and more recently with the UDC code that is being adopted by Milton for our future planning purposes. So thank you very much to Ron Gilbert. Indy Bowman, who is here this evening, is one of my newest appointees. She was appointed to the Milton Trails Committee the beginning of this year, and they've had probably half a dozen meetings or so. And although Indy's tenure is short on the committee, with this transition, we certainly appreciate what you have brought. My understanding is that you have brought great enthusiasm, great commitment and vision for the city, and a meaningful contribution in your short period of time. Thank you very much, Indy, for the role that you have played. I'd like to thank Joey Costanzo, who also has served for an extended period of time, I think 9 years total, on the Parks and Rec Committee. He's a strong advocate for all sports, but in particular for girls lacrosse. We know that he has been a strong voice for securing more active park space for this city, and he is represented the community well and been a strong voice to ensure all of our athletes have fields to play on, not just today, but a more accommodating availability of fields for the future. So thank you very much to Joey Costanza for his 9 years of service. Last, an appointee that hasn't had a chance to serve yet because the committee is just being created, but Greg Tinker, who is not here this evening. Greg will serve on the Milton Sustainability Committee, and my understanding is that the incoming council member, Doug Haney, is going to retain Greg as his appointee to the Milton Sustainability Committee. So thank you in advance for your contribution, Greg, in the future on that committee. So thank you very much to all of my board and council, or board and commission members, and wish you all the best, and thank you for your service. I'll come forward, please.
Yeah.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Will the city clerk please sound the next item?
Mayor, that next item is recognition and appreciation of service to the appointed board and committee members of District 3, Post 2, Don Kurt with the Board of Zoning Appeals, Rachel Greathouse with the Design Review Board, Nan Buckner with the Milton Equestrian Committee, Sumit Shaw with Planning Commission, Phil Cranmer with the Parks Rec Advisory Board, and Suzanne Bach with the Milton Trails Advisory Committee. Councilmember Rick Morrig.
Thank you. First person I'd like to recognize is Don Kurt. Don joined the Board of Zoning Appeals, which some of you know that it actually is our only semi-legal board, so it carries a lot of weight. We, council, can't overturn whatever decisions they make. And Don, I know you've been here for some long meetings, but appreciate you actually stepping up. I don't know if you knew what you were getting into when you said that, but Don's been doing this for 5.5 years for the citizens of Milton. So thank you, Don. The next person that I'd like to recognize is Rachel Greathouse. She's on the Design Review Board. Rachel joined the Design Review Board just about 1.5 years ago, and she brought into it her interior and exterior design expertise. So Rachel, she's not able to be here tonight, but I want to thank you for your service to the community, and I'd like to say congratulations. Next person that I want to recognize would be Nan Buckner. Nan is my representative on the Milton Equestrian Committee. She's been on that committee for 2 years and 8 months. Nan is a 4th-generation equestrian, hailing out of Illinois, I believe, originally. And Nan is actually, she has a passion for horses, has a passion for what we're trying to do to see if we can preserve the look and feel and also protect horse owners' properties as we continue to develop Milton. So Nan, thank you for your 2 years and 8 months service. And I believe Nan is also going to continue to serve on the board going forward. Sumit Shah. Sumit has been my representative on a couple of different boards. He's served 9 years and 8.5 months between those boards. The first board Smeet was on was the Board of Zoning Appeals. He spent 2.5 years there, stepped on, and then he expressed a desire to get into a different area, and it worked out. So he became my representative on the Planning Commission for the last 7 years and 2.5 months. So Smeet actually has his own law firm. He brings a good legal mind and background, and he really has helped us in both the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission. And Smeet, I thank you for your service to the city and the citizens. Next person I'd like to recognize is Phil Cranmer. Phil, when Paula talked about Joey Costanza, Joey was my first Parks and Recs nominee. And then all of a sudden, Joey decided he was going to move to a different part of the city. So I asked Joey, I said, well, do you have anybody you know within your neighborhood or someone around that's interested, that has younger kids that could actually get involved and make a difference? And he recommended Phil to me, and Phil and I sat down and talked for a bit. So Phil, I really want to thank you for serving the residents on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for the past 9 years and 3 months. Thank you, Phil. And last but not least, Suzanne Bach. She's my representative in the Milton Trails Advisory Committee. Suzanne is also a neighbor, and she's passionate for preserving nature and trying to make the area more usable for us. She served for the last 1 year and 6 months, I think, right after we actually formed the Trail Committee. And Suzanne, I appreciate your service, and I've heard rumor you may be continuing on, but I won't officially pre-announce anything. But Suzanne, thank you for your service. Thank you for stepping up. I know you had a couple questions at first, but I really appreciate you stepping up and serving on the Trails Advisory Committee. Come forward, we'll give you a plaque.
Actually, you know what? Can you shift a tiny bit? Because you look this way. Yeah, this way. There you go. You're good. Flag. Yep. Yeah, you guys go up there. Yeah, he gives you stuff. No, you're good.
Hi.
Rick, you get in the middle somehow. There it works. Actually, you know what? You can scoot over. You guys are good in the back. Oh. The front row, scoot a tiny little bit this way. There you go. Perfect. Okay. 3, 2. Great. Thank you.
Okay, there are no first presentation items. We'll move on. Actually, we'll not go to the public hearing. Will the city clerk please sound the was no zoning agenda item. Please sound the first unfinished business item.
That first item is
There you go.
consideration of an ordinance amendment to Chapter 56, Article 3 for residential speed zones. It was first presentation at the December 4th, 2023 regular city council meeting. It is agenda item number 23322. Our Public Works Director, Ms. Sarah Leaders.
Good evening. This ordinance amendment is really our next step in creating this residential speed zone program. So just to recap, we talked about this at the November work session, brought up the idea of a proposed program. We looked at formatting it as a resident-driven request that would allow us to use radar speed enforcement at any speed above the posted speed limit. The limitation to that is that it is applicable on roads with speed limits less than 35 miles an hour. Also wanted to highlight this was a project identified in the local road safety plan as a countermeasure for vehicle speeds to look at some of these Milton-specific speed limit zones. I'll just cover a few of the slides we talked about again at the work session. The first is the state requirements. So the state code has a section that puts certain limitations on radar speed detection enforcement. And so there's also a statement that there is a exemption to that, and it's for properly marked residential zones. So that is the approach with this program, is to look at roads with speed limits of 35, less than 35, that would be considered residential streets would fall under this sort of program. The other component is that it does need to be on the Georgia DOT, Department of Public Safety list of roads that are on our radar permit. So the city actions to utilize those sections of the state code are first to update our city ordinance, chapter 56, that will allow city council to designate residential zones by resolution. Following that, we would then adopt a policy for how we're going to implement the program, and the police department would look at traffic enforcement strategies under the program. So that was just kind of a highlight of what the program's going to encompass. The standard operating procedures will really lay out how we go about determining if a road is eligible for the program and the approval process of that. So the next steps were, first of all, tonight, consideration of this ordinance amendment. Following that, staff will finalize the standard operating procedures for the program. Then we'll bring it back before you for discussion of those proposed terms of that program. And then there'll be a resolution to adopt it. And at that point, the program will become operational. So I'd be glad to answer any questions. This is really, again, that first step to getting the code language changed that allows a resolution to establish these residential speed zones. So more to come on the process in January.
Any questions? Do we have any public comment?
We do not, sir.
Okay, I'll close public comment and I'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, we approve agenda item number 23-322. Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Morg to approve agenda item number 23-322. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Okay, will the city clerk please say on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is consideration of a text amendment to Chapter 2, Administration, Division 4, Design Review Board of the City Code as it relates to purpose, duties, recommendations, final decisions, and residency. Agenda item number 23-321. Ms. Robin McDonald.
Get this up. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, we are going to discuss the consideration of a text amendment to Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Authorities, Division 4, Design Review Board of the City Code, as it relates to purpose, duties, recommendations, final decisions, and residencies. A little bit of background about this portion of the Administration Code. Article 5 specifically addresses the various boards and commissions of the city that have been created since its incorporation in December of 2006. Specifically, Division 4 speaks to the DRB, or the Design Review Board, and addresses the following topics: purpose, duties, recommendations, final decisions, and residency. There have been two inconsistencies brought to staff's attention between the zoning ordinance requirements for the DRB members and the requirements within Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 4. The first inconsistency is the zoning ordinance does not state that the city council's appointees are required to reside in their respective council districts, while Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 4 states that they must reside in the respective council districts. Chapter 64, zoning speaks to residency requirements for the DRB, but not the other community development related boards or commissions. The second inconsistency in Chapter 64 of the zoning ordinance is with the city's charter that contemplates individuals on inferior boards like the DRB must reside in Milton, not business owners or landowners, but residents. And in this section here, you can see of the zoning ordinance that speaks to the design review board. Currently, it states in the composition that the DRB shall consist of a 7-member board of residents, landowners, business owners, professional architects, or land planners who either maintain primary residences or businesses or own land in the city. Below is the verbiage required if the mayor and council, 1, choose to allow each council member's designee to reside anywhere in the city, and 2, corrects the second inconsistency regarding land and business ownership. So if you go down to B, let's review under residency. If you so choose, it could read, the mayor and city council members designated shall be residents of the city. So you can see we got rid of when it spoke to businesses and if they own land. So they have to live within the city. Below is the verbiage required if the mayor and city council choose to require each council member's designee to reside in their respective districts, and as well corrects the second inconsistency. So this is another option under B. The mayor's designee shall reside anywhere within the city, and each of the council members' designees shall reside within his or her respective council districts. Staff will change Chapter 64 zoning to be consistent with the outcome of tonight's meeting with the adoption of the UDC in February of next year. This is the most expedient way to correct the zoning ordinance as it's already within the pathway to adoption. In the following slides, I will review the other minor updates to Division 4 of Administration regarding the Design Review Board. Please note, these changes are purely housekeeping and not policy issues. Staff requests that the mayor and council choose, as we go through it, there's going to be an arrow and you'll get to choose which way you want to go. Just quickly through under the purpose, we had the original Northwest Fulton Overlay District was in this Chapter 2, changing to City of Milton. And then over the years, we've changed and updated the Design Review Board's responsibilities, and it states, and to make final decisions regarding demolition of buildings. So they have the final decision whether a building can be demolished or not. This was different than what had originally happened when we were originally a city. Duties. Again, that they would review all requests for demolition of all buildings within the city. And then under recommendations, we're just not clarifying, but updating what their responsibilities are. At the end, it says that the board will make recommendations to the Community Development Department prior to the approval of a land disturbance permit, building permit, or primary variance, rezoning and use permit within the zoning ordinance, Chapter 64, or Unified Development Code as applicable. And then again, what's totally new added under final decisions is that they shall review and make final decisions to approve or deny an application for the demolition of all buildings. So that is something that is new, that's reflecting what the zoning ordinance already directs the DRB to do. Now, in respect to composition, under B, the mayor and city council members designee shall be residents of the city. So you're going to go back and choose either to reside in the city or for your designees to live in the same district as you. Please remember the mayor is at large, so it does not involve the mayor's appointee. And then lastly, clean up under terms. When we first became a city, there were graduating terms, so that's being deleted. So tonight, the biggest question that staff is asking council is, in this situation for the design review board, would you prefer it either your appointees to reside in the city at large or within your district? So with that said, I'll be open to any questions you may have.
Any questions before public comment?
We do have one public comment, Mayor.
Okay.
I'd like to invite Mary.
Do we have any questions real quick? We good? Okay. Yep. Okay.
I'd like to invite Mary Cronk to the podium.
Evening again. My name is Mary Cronk, and I live at 600 Hickory Mill Lane in Milton. From its inception, Milton has been divided into 3 districts that largely reflect distinct character areas, and it's a requirement for council members to reside in the district that they represent. The Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission ordinances both require members to reside in the same district as the council members who nominated them. This residency requirement allows council, board, and commission members who have a vested interest in maintaining, promoting, and enhancing the uniqueness of their area to share their perspectives and experiences living in different parts of the city, so that balanced decisions can be made for Milton as a whole. Design Review Board should be no different and should have the same residency requirement as the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission. What would be the justification for allowing all members of the Design Review Board to be at large when we have a city of over 40,000 people? I believe there are engaged, qualified, and competent residents in each district who would volunteer their time on the Design Review Board. If council takes away the residency requirement, Milton could be faced with the unintended consequence of having a Design Review Board composed largely of people from one area of the city making final decisions about demolitions and recommendations for building design for the other areas. For these reasons, I oppose any change to the residency requirement that would allow at-large representation on the Design Review Board, of course, with the exception of the mayor's appointee. Consequently, I fully support the text amendment requiring each council member's appointee to reside within his or her own council district. And I ask that you vote against at-large representation and vote for equal representation among all 3 districts on the Design Review Board. Thank you again for your time and careful consideration.
Thank you.
That concludes
Okay.
public comment.
Public
Sorry.
comment. Okay. I'll close public comment. And real quick question. I think my mind was going as I was reading through this, trying to go back to the history. So I might ask Robin and maybe Councilor Morg to kind of help me. But I know originally we had 6 districts in the city. And I think part of the issue then was because we did have a couple, when you read this, it's interesting because it's so much different than all the other boards. So if you could give us maybe a time in history or history lesson real quick.
I'll just give you my perspective on when we first formed city council, when people were elected, and we did have 6 districts. It was difficult on this one. You needed a specific set of skills. And because it was so small, what we allowed was either someone who owns a business in the city or someone who resides in the city. And I know in my case, we had Tim Bryant, who'd been a well-known architect that had a business. Tim made great contributions. As we've grown, I guess I think now we actually could draw because we've got 3 districts. So we've got a bigger pool for everybody to draw from. So, but that's how originally it did start out, like you said, with 6 districts. And we were back 15,000 people at the time. It was a lot less to draw from, a lot more of a challenge.
We currently don't have because when I was reading it, so there are no requirements for the DRB member. They don't have to be architects. They don't have to be builders. They can just be citizens, correct? The way it currently reads?
Within the administration, that's correct.
Okay.
So in the zoning ordinance, as how should I say council member Morrig stated that within the zoning ordinance, it does speak to that issue about owning land being business owners, professional architects, and land planners who either maintain primary residences and businesses within the city. And so speaking to the city attorney, to Mr. Gerard, he pointed out that, as I covered in the presentation, that the charter states that you have to reside in the city. So we need to correct that portion of it, that inconsistency, no matter what you all decide, whether they're to be at large or whether they're to be within each district. And I did do a little bit of research, and yes, when you look at the old district map, it's very crazy, and I could see how it would be very difficult to find the people, the appropriate people. And also, I looked at the city charter, actually, which is oversees everything, the charter. That was amended in 2013. Let me make sure. Where originally it stated that it changed to be more flexible, to be at large instead of being within each district for the boards. So I think that's, Mayor, what you might have been thinking of when you thought of 2013.
I remember a discussion, yeah.
And that's what came with the charter change.
And were they having issues in 2013 finding board members? Is that what it was? Okay.
Because
Yeah.
that was, if I remember correctly, that
I
was
think
prior to us going to the larger geographic areas and going
Right,
from
exactly, yes.
from 6 districts
to
to
3.
3. And that changed the complexion of everything.
Yeah, 'cause I think that was before because I came back on in 2013 and we already were only 3 districts at that time.
Okay.
So I
So
think
maybe-
It was
I
during
think
13.
Jan Jones and the city and probably the attorney
That's right.
looked and said, okay, let's make it a bigger population. Let's just have a post 1, post 2 versus 6 districts and mayor from an election standpoint.
Are we having any issues now filling any of these roles, or do we have any conflicts now?
I believe that it's all been resolved with the new district. Currently, Miss Greathouse was in the incorrect district in the sense of she was not in the same district as Councilperson Morrig said, but as he was under the understanding that he could do that. So right now but again,
So have we been assuming it's at large? I mean, so has the city been saying we're appointing these members at large or by district? What have
in
we been doing?
general, when I went back through the data that the city clerk gave to me over time, including Miss Greathouse and Mr. Bryan, and then 2 other members over the years have not been within their respective districts.
Just 2.
Equestrian, that's at large also, correct?
I'm not the person to ask.
It is.
Citywide.
It is citywide.
Are there
for
any
that very
others
reason.
that are
No.
citywide?
Oh, yeah. The sustainability.
Trails? Oh, sustainability, that's right.
No.
I think there's a
plead ignorant
difference,
on all
though.
those
I think
other words.
if you look at the kinds of decisions this particular board is being asked to make, I think it is important for us to think about representation from within the districts. Unlike some of the others where the decisions are not as significant, although important. When you're talking about demolition, you're talking about the look and feel of the area and understanding that part of the community. I think we're best served if the individuals live within the district, so it's a little bit closer to home.
I think please.
Go ahead.
I think I feel that way about planning and Board of Zoning Appeals. I also find myself in a position where I'm looking for DRB because Reed Casey, after great service to this community, is stepping down. And I'm very interested in somebody who's a couple streets away from my district who would be an outstanding member. So I'm self-motivated. I feel that, this artificial boundary doesn't work for me in this particular case. I do think it's more, and I understand the cluster effect over time, and it could be undone at a certain point, but the mix of at-large and in-district has not harmed DRB to this point. So frankly, if you open it up to at-large, it could very easily be the status quo because you could appoint somebody in your district. So I think we're actually, if we vote that it's more across the community, that we could harvest the very best, but at the same time, we're really just maintaining the status quo. Because you're an example of being able to bring people in from your district and also outside your district. And it's worked well. I mean, you've had wonderful appointees, right? Okay.
Councilman Jacobus?
Yeah, I'm on the side that I think it needs to be in the district from where the council member lives. It forces us to make sure we keep the entire city engaged where we can. And this is one way of doing that. It'd be easier, no question, to just say at large. But I think, me, as a challenge as it can be at times, it's been a challenge. I think having the district, it keeps it around and it keeps the people in certain areas. And in our area, it's hard to get people motivated. So you got to go out and look and dig at it. But I think it's the right thing to do.
Councilor Moore?
Yeah, I agree with Jan and with Paul. Although I've had people that have been great and they've worked, I think now we've got more of an opportunity. The other thing, just for future council and for staff, if we can make it people who may have an interest in serving actually share like, what their interest is and what, versus us trying to drum up, well, who do I know? That's the challenge, is like, well, who do I know in my district? That's kind of what we're up against sometimes, because you may not have that network as deep in your district. But I think this is different than equestrian. Equestrian, you want people that understand horses, understand farms, that type of thing. So I think it makes sense there. But for this, just like zoning and Board of Zoning Appeals, I think that I'd like to see it actually come from within the district.
Mayor, just a comment. Right, okay. So I just wanted to, while all else fails, and I don't know if this will move the needle at all, but I did think I would at least reference the charter very quickly, just to sort of make sure that the council's aware of what the charter says. It's kind of interesting, actually, what it does. So the charter provides, it says this: unless otherwise provided by ordinance or law, ordinance, you all draft ordinances all the time, each board or commission or authority shall consist of 7 members, with 1 member being nominated by each member of the council and mayor. Hard stop. So each of you get, no matter how we configure the qualifications to be able to apply for it, each of you get 1 person that you get to nominate to put on there. So should you choose to have them be in the district, that's up to you. Should you choose not to because of the skill set, you don't have to. And then it says this, once again, with that prefatory language, unless otherwise provided by ordinance or law, there shall be no requirement that a board, commission, or authority member reside in the district of the council member that nominates the member, but all members must be residents of Milton. So I say that just to say that it does give the council, and uniquely the members, the autonomy to make decisions that they believe are the best for that particular board or committee that they're nominating for. Just wanted y'all to hear that. This debate is up to you all.
I'm just curious because it seems like the charter conflicts with other boards and committees. Is that what you're saying, or?
What gives us the latitude?
Gives the
to decide
latitude. Yeah, you all
committee by
have.
committee.
Right. I mean, the only clear requirement is there's got to be 7. There's got to be 7. And
Got to live here.
and it's got to live here.
Right.
Everything else can be
So then we can
modified.
go latitude committee by committee.
That's right.
So that would include planning commission and board of zoning appeals?
You are correct.
If we wanted to
But we
change
but we
that, but we
created
haven't changed
Right.
we created
I mean, there's a very valid reason for the people to be in their district for some of those, these decision-making boards, for all the reasons that we've contemplated in the past. I mean, not least of which is to ensure that there's a balanced and full representation from north to south to east to west in our city. And we've been well served either by artificially doing that, not necessarily by directive, or by doing it by directive, because we've all been working under that presumption. So whether we've been right or wrong in how we've been managing it in the past, I would propose that we have been very well served to ensure that our Highway 9 representation exists, our Arnold Mill representation exists, our Heart of Milton that is very different when you're talking about the large lots, et cetera, very different drivers for those folks than our, our retail commercial areas. So, boy, I'd be hard pressed to change away from, whether it was rightly or wrongly done with the design review board. I think this is a chance for us to ensure we're doing it correctly for the future, and would support it being done by district.
So that's what the 2013 council did. They went in and just changed just the DRB. I'm assuming that's what they did.
I think the DRB had been allowed on that one because if I go back to history, I think when we had the six districts, the challenge was really trying to fill some of those positions. And that's where we were really looking right at the beginning, trying to find people that in fact had expertise in that area, not just getting someone to sit, but then now we've got a bigger pool. I mean, even in District 3, we've got a much bigger pool to draw from by having expanded district.
It was small geographies back then, and it was, a third of the population.
Right, the population was way different, and I don't think we had, again, it was more out of necessity when we started out why we did that. That's
just one small point, regardless of the size of the pool, the desire to serve is everything. And without the desire to serve, having to drum up interest and if there is an interest, getting the best, I think in this particular case, because design could be a very interesting skill set, and it does overlay into architecture and some sense of building. It's everything that all of you are very familiar with. So to me, that trumps just having to find somebody in your district. I just want the best and the brightest in this particular one. As long as the others are balanced, I don't disagree with planning or zoning.
We'll find the right people.
Yeah.
Councilman Jacobus?
Make a motion?
Yeah, really quick. So do we have, I guess my only issue is if we've been doing it at large, I want to continue doing that because we seem to not really have a problem. So have we been doing it at large, or have we
No,
been?
I mean, 95% of the time you've been appointing by district. Each individual council member has been looking for DRB members that are by district.
And then when they don't find them, though, they go outside their district. Is that a fair assumption?
No, I don't think so.
I can't really speak to that.
Just because we had
that's
conflicts.
I propose this for consideration. You already know where I stand and how I probably intend to cast my vote. However, if we bump into a circumstance where we've got a vacancy, there's nothing wrong with the council member approaching council. Every one of our appointees is certified by council before they're actually seated. So if you have a particular reason that you've got an individual that has something unique to their credentials that would serve us, but not within the district, why not appeal to the council for the consideration of that individual in that circumstance?
But then you're asking for a step for approval from your colleagues?
We have to, we all approve them all anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, that adds a layer. I mean, I think each of us is responsible enough to find somebody. I think it should be at large. I mean, and to be able to choose. I mean, let's don't add a layer.
We're not adding a layer. It's the same process. We all have to bring our appointees forward for council vote. There's nobody that's seated in any of our boards or commissions that is not voted on by council.
Yeah, I just think that if it's written differently, then it would just seem like a violation. It just keeps it cleaner, I think.
I'm kind of like, it's not broke, don't fix it, I
Yeah.
guess. But
Yeah.
I'll go to Councilman Jacobus. Let's do a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve having the design review board members appointed by council members from within their district.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Morrig to approve agenda item 23-321 that says design review board members must be appointed by district. Good on that? But reside in the district.
Residents of the district for which they are.
Residents of the
And
district.
can we add to that, accepting all the other changes, the other verbiages under proposed changes to text amendment? I think we want to include that in this also.
So just to clarify, excuse me, I have the slide up right now that if You do approve it by district. This is the verbiage that would be changed to require it by district. It's right in front of you.
Yeah.
So would Councilman Jacobus have to redo his to include, or are we okay? We're going to, when we change that, we're also including everything.
Well, it looks, I mean, just for purposes of the council, 232B, the red line, the mayor's is at large, and then the black lines and the last two lines, and each of the council members' designees shall reside within his or her respective. I thought that's exactly what you just made.
Yes.
That's it. Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Jacobus, a second from Councilmember Morrig. Let's all raise our hands on this one. Learned my lesson in the past. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion fails 4-3. I'll open it for another motion. Councilman Cookerly?
Okay.
Throw it
Can
to
you pull up your other one, please?
Okay.
We're gonna get you a slide.
Okay. I propose that the mayor and council members designees shall be residents of the city. And that's it.
You
All
good
you
with-
need,
For
Council.
design review board.
Oh, for design review board.
What's-
And do I add any of the other verbiage? Just leave it alone?
No, I mean, everything is already speaking to the
Okay.
design review board,
All
so
right.
it's exactly what I have up for your option. Yeah,
All
this
right.
would be the
That's my
option to
motion.
reside by city.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Cookerly and a second from Councilmember Johnson to approve agenda item 23-321. Do I need to go into the reasons, Ken, or are you good on that?
Good, you got a
Good.
motion second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
That motion carries 4-3. Thank you. Okay, will the city clerk move on to new business? Will the city clerk please sound the items?
That first item is consideration of final consent order to settle condemnation action in reference to Freemanville Road at Birmingham Road Project, Parcel 1. Owner John P. Cole. It's agenda item number 23-341. Mr. Ken Gerard.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Clerk. I will take this. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, this is a consent order to settle a condemnation. We have discussed this in executive session and under the Open Meetings Act for us to make this final, put a bow on it. We have to bring it out and we have to discuss the substantive terms in open session. So that's what I'm going to do. This pertains to our Freemanville Road at Birmingham Road project, specifically with respect to Parcel 1. The landowner is John P. Cole. The take that we are settling is 0.070 acres of fee simple right-of-way, 1,297.50 square feet of permanent slope easement. And so with respect to this settlement, and again, this is authority that this is within the authority you had granted in executive session. So I'm not asking you to revisit the authority. We've already discussed that. With respect to the take, we paid into the registry of the court when we actually took the property, $22,300 pursuant to subsequent negotiations. We now are going to pay an additional $47,700 for a total swing of the take aggregated of $70,000. That'll be the amount of money that we will pay to settle this condemnation action. I just need the council to ratify this consent order and we will put this one to bed.
Okay, is there any public comment?
There are none, sir.
Okay, any questions, any council discussion? Okay, I'll open it for a motion.
I'll do it. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve agenda item number 23-341.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Cookerly, a second from Councilmember Jacobus to approve agenda item number 23-341. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous. Sorry.
Not that bad a deal, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, our next
Sorry.
a new business item will be consideration of a letter agreement between the City of Milton and Sheldon and Angela Williams, resolving all claims related to Lot 5 at 14740 Glen Creek Way in Milton. It's agenda item number 23-342. Our city attorney, Mr. Ken Gerard.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is proof positive that there existed government before the city of Milton came into existence. And so we are, from time to time, these issues surface where we are still sort of cleaning up some of those historical issues. And so in this situation, what we have, the parcel of property that I'm speaking to this evening is called 14740 Glen Creek Way in Milton, Georgia. And what I can tell the council is that in 2002 or 2003, before the city of Milton came into existence, there was sewer infrastructure that was installed on what we are today calling Lot 6 of Glen Creek Way. And interestingly, back in the pre-Milton days, a sewer spur, so a little offshoot of sewer, was also installed. And there were some manipulations of the plat in the interim, including, I believe, maybe a consolidation plat by Fulton County, again, before Milton came into existence. But then in 2014, there was a subdivision plat of that principal parcel where the residents were served by sewer that included that sewer spur, where there was a subdivision of it into 2 lots, with the spur actually now going on to this newly created lot. And I'm going to call that Lot 5 of Glen Creek Way. So now we have a newly created lot, and this is 10 years ago, the city approved a subdivision plat. And that was put in front of you by someone that worked then at the time for Milton. And we approved that. And so we created this lot with the expectation, because of the proximity of literally sewer infrastructure on the ground on this newly created Lot 5, that it would be served by sewer. The building footprint is very small. The lot created by this minor subdivision is a poorly configured lot from the perspective of buildable area. And so you've got this sewer spur sitting on it, and you've otherwise got a very small building footprint. Fast forward to today, the individuals that own the lot have now come forward and said, listen, we want to be able to connect to this piece of sewer infrastructure that is literally on our lot right now. The city of Milton, as it exists today, is extremely protective of this. And so the recommendation I have given the council is that we need to, first of all, allow the connection. That's been my position to you, a legal position that I have taken with you. But to lock this down, to make it ironclad and to sort of throw the key away, is that we need to protect it with a deed restriction that will be imposed upon the lot to ensure that the sewer connectivity that occurs on this single residential dwelling, which could be developed with septic if in fact the footprint of the lot was big enough to accommodate that. But as it is, it's going to be a single sewered lot, has a deed restriction on it that prohibits any future owner from ever taking that sewer and extending it to further lots or off of that an individual lot. I will tell you that with the attorney that I have been dealing with, I believe he is comfortable with the language. I must also tell you, I must report to you that his client has not signed off on it yet, but that's okay, because we have the right to go ahead and approve this and make it in the form of an offer. And that will resolve this issue with respect to this Lot 5 and take away the specter of the litigation. I do, as your attorney, believe it's the correct thing to do legally at this point, and I think that you have been extremely dogmatic to lock this down as tight as you can. And so that's been the focus of my efforts, and I have done that for you. So, Mr. Mayor, my recommendation is you have in front of you a letter agreement. My recommendation is the council approve that. Let me tender it to the other side. I think they're looking kindly on it. There's just a couple of contingencies they want to get out of the way before they sign it. And we'll put this to bed and have it locked down as tight as it can be locked down with a deed restriction.
And is this lot, we're calling it Lot 5, is that on the sewer map for Milton right now?
It is not.
Okay. The concern I've got, and this is not just this item, we ran into something similar back in 2014 or 15 with a property on Hopewell,
okay,
where there was a sewer main that went right down through the center. And we, in fact, I think, approved that. And through recent discussions, there's been a lot of accusations about extending sewer going through that and counting that as an extension of sewer.
Yep.
So The concern is going forward, we were told back then, this is it. There's no more exceptions. There's nothing out there. Have we, separate from this, have we looked or is staff looking to go out to say, let's ensure wherever sewer terminates,
Right.
let's look and make sure we don't, because we were told this back in 2014 or 15 that there are no more to be had. And now here we are in 2023 with another one.
Right. Well, I can't speak to, that. I have not certainly done an inventory in the city of Milton to know. What I can tell you is, though, is you sort of have a perfect storm on this individual one where you've got sewer infrastructure. This is not a sewer extension. The sewer was installed prior to Milton coming into existence. There was the sewer extension. It's a inferior lot. And when I say an inferior lot, I'm not suggesting that it's not a buildable lot. I'm suggesting that the viable building footprint is so small that it will not accommodate a septic system. So that works against us. Then we have the 2014 minor subdivision where sewer was in fact identified as the solution for this lot to be created. It's sort of a trifecta of things that have worked against us. And so to your point, Councilmember Moreg, I hope this is it. I do. But that's why, forget about a sewer map. We're putting the deed restriction on it. And so if this property is conveyed, which is candidly why they've come to Milton, because they want to sell it to a third party, there's going to be a deed restriction floating with that deed that says you're done, forget about it, no more. So I do think that from the perspective of Milton's, I know the most important direction of this council, which is to keep that Maginot line of no sewer crossing it. You're accomplishing that here.
There's a piece of new information that you shared this evening, Ken, that is maybe caught me a little bit off guard. And that was in discussions that we've had prior to this, we thought if the council's vote for this evening was to approve this, that would put it to bed.
Yeah.
But what I think I heard you say was, even though you and the other party's attorney have agreed in principle that this is kind of going to be it,
right?
The property owner is still a holdout.
I think the reason, and that's fair, it's a fair point, and it's fair. I think the reason for that is they are attempting, in fact, to close. And so it's a function of making sure the deed restriction is acceptable to all parties. I'm fine with that, because if it's not, that's an issue.
But it doesn't preclude, even if we're all in agreement and we approve this evening, and the opposing attorney or the other attorney from the other representing the other side says, yeah, we're all good to go, that still does not preclude that homeowner from bringing litigation against the city. Even if he gets what he wants, it does not preclude him from.
Well, it does, because this is the only vehicle by which the city is going to agree that you can make that connection is this agreement. You don't do that, then our position is going to be, well, then we'll have to go to court over it.
Ken, quick question. Would it make more sense, or what is the typical protocol? Would they sign off on it first and then we sign off?
That would be the preference of everyone. However, I was under the impression we wanted to go ahead and get this thing done, get it done. And I think this is probably the quickest way to get it done. I mean, an approved agreement by you all is an offer, okay? And when we have the right to send that to them, they've already seen it, of course. They've already reviewed it. But then as soon as they're comfortable with it, again, I'm assuming to get it closed, they'll sign it, and then we'll have a done deal. We'll have an agreement.
Counselor, we've learned that this lot does not have value if the spur is not allowed to be used, correct?
I believe it will, right, it won't have economic viability.
Right. And you've stated before that it's kind of a forced sewer on this council because you don't believe that we would have standing in court, correct? That this would not be a winning proposition for us.
It would not be the preferred battle for me to have, but I'm pretty good, Councilmember. Yeah, I think I like to fight on the best ground possible. How about that?
Okay.
Forgive my.
So I guess to Councilmember Moore's point, we are voting on with this deed restriction.
Right.
If they say no, there's no.
Then the negotiation starts
coming
over.
back.
Right.
That's correct.
All right.
That's correct.
You said you could actually go to them first and propose it, they sign it, and then you can bring it back to council.
That can be done.
But I'd like for them to see all of our restrictions. I mean, I'd like for them to see.
It's a
just
done deal.
implement
This is
it.
all
Hear me
they
when I
get.
tell you, they've seen this. I think the only thing they're waiting for is to get the closing table behind them.
Okay.
Or maybe not even that far, but to Councilmember Moore's point, this is the deal. If you don't agree to this deal, then we're back at square one with we're not agreeing to this.
And that was where I thought their attorney had presented their position to you when we talked about this last, that was kind of the quid pro quo. You guys, meaning council, do this and we're good to go. So we've now given our indication that, yeah, we're going to be pretty much good to go. We'll get the council to do this pending the ultimate vote. But yet the landowner's still saying, I'm not in yet. That's
I think
bothersome to me.
that's fair. And again, I can't speak for them. I can't. I'm dealing with, their lawyer. I do think they're motivated. I do think they want to get this behind them. I think it's just a matter of timing. But I mean, I can't.
Sure would have been great
I
to
can't
have
guarantee something I don't have in front of me.
Right. No, sure would have been great for the client to have cooperated with what was proposed by his or her attorney that was going to get the deal closed. And yet, for whatever reason, that person's still a holdout.
You know what you could do if you have an interest in moving forward, you could approve it, but put a 15-day fuse on it. It's approved. You got 15 days. Take it or leave it. I mean, everybody's going to want to close before the end of the year anyway. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons to do that. So, I mean, just to give you another option, that would be one.
I'm fine with adding that too. I'm fine with adding as many restrictions. I mean, I think we've got it locked down pretty good.
Yeah, this is pretty tight.
It was not a position any one of us want to be in. But we need to move on it, I think.
Any other council discussion? Do we have any public comment?
There are none, sir.
Okay.
The only thing I'll remind everybody, this same thing happened, yet this was brought forward as you, councilman at that time, approved sewer extension.
But wasn't that a rezoning for that exact form? Was it not a rezoning? Okay. Which would have been different.
I think that was broader though than just one lot that
It was
has
broader than
no
one lot, but it was
septic.
the same principle. There was a line that went right through the middle from Fulton County. And again, regardless of how this vote turns out, I would suggest that at staff, we take a look. We actually do a thorough scrub because you don't want to have this coming back 2 years from now or 3 years from now and saying, oops, here's another one. We might have a lawsuit. We need to do it. So I'm not going to be on that council, but I would suggest outside of this, you do that because we were told back in 2014 or 15, this is it. It will never happen again. Yet here we are, 2023, facing the same thing.
So I propose, council, you all, as you prepare to cast your vote this evening, contemplate two things. One is I appreciate Ken offering us some options that might sort of force their hand. Another way to force their hand is for council to say no to this evening because we don't have the guarantee of the landowner cooperating with the deal. So my offer to council for your consideration tonight is if you vote yes, remember that you will forevermore be known as someone who extended sewer, period.
But you will be, even if.
You can
they-
explain it all day long. You can give all the excuses you want, but you will be responsible for extending.
But
I
if
can
the
attest to that.
landowner, in your first scenario, if the landowner agrees to the deal, it still has to be voted on. You know, the flip side is we go to litigation, and as we spend a lot of time discussing that litigation, that would be irresponsible use of money.
But do we necessarily need to go to litigation with the suggestion that you said? You've already got an agreement. If you presented it to the client and said, you sign off on this and I can bring it back to council and they'll approve it.
I guess I'm struggling with why is there significance in the temporal when the deal is consummated? I'm not understanding how one is seen as a
In my
problem.
mind, we're offering something that was supposed to be a quid pro quo. We got the quid, we didn't get the pro.
Well, there's no quo or quid until they
It's
sign
just
it
a lawsuit,
as well.
I think.
Right. Well, I'm being facetious when I say that, obviously, but.
Although that hurt me to say, just linguistically.
Exactly. So, the point that I'm trying to make is you received what you thought to be a good faith offer from the opposing attorney on this, and you represented that to us, and we had healthy discussion about why it was the right thing to do. And I totally understand that, and I comprehend that, and understood why you would come forward this evening with this, with this proposal the way it's written. But we didn't have in our available considerations was the fact that the landowner is still going to hold out, even when his attorney has represented that this was going to be the thing that was going to get them over the threshold, and we're not.
Do we know that it's a holdout? I mean,
No, I mean, again, I think it's just a function of, again, I can't represent to you that they have accepted it fully, because if they had accepted it fully, I'd have you a signed agreement.
So can we offer up to them, if we were to defer this evening, with the requisite result of that being that the landowner come back and say, with that, I agree, and sign it saying that will be sufficient. I won't hold out any other path. I won't hold out any other opportunity for litigation, because what you will then have presented to council will be acceptable to everyone.
I don't think.
All
we need
options
to
are on the
defer.
table.
Yeah, I will confess to you, folks, different jurisdictions do it different way. There are some governments that approve contracts all day long without the other side having signed them to make them offers. So to me, this is just it's a timing issue. If it's not accepted, it's a nullity. We can approve it all day long, but if it's not accepted, it's not worth the ink it's written on. And if they do and we don't, it's not worth the ink it's written on. So I'll defer to the council from a timing perspective. If you would feel more comfortable having an inked deal before you approve it, then defer it to January. I don't think it's.
I think we should approve it to get an ink deal and move this along so that we don't end up in litigation at some point, to show that we're serious and we want all these restrictions.
I'm just real serious about not extending sewer, period.
But
I hear you all
they
reasons.
come back and they say,
You can cast your vote the way you so choose. If you want to extend sewer.
you're saying you don't want to extend it. You want to wait for the other council to do it.
No.
What are you saying? Because when they come back and they've accepted our conditions, we have to vote.
I can't affect that timing. It's not my decision.
Oh, I think I see it.
I'll be voting on it one way or the
I
other.
know,
So
I know.
let's just go ahead and just make the motion.
All right.
Do we have any other council discussion on it? Any public comment? No, we already said no. All right.
You make a motion?
Yeah, go for
All
it.
right.
Or anybody can make a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve agenda item number 23-342. Did I have the right one?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
people are a little
Is that it?
gun shy on the second.
342, you got the right
Yeah.
one.
All right, thank you.
Got one motion. I don't have a second. Interesting. Okay.
No motion fails.
Well,
No
there's
second?
actually just not even a motion
Right.
on the table.
Yeah, good motion.
So why don't I offer up this motion as a parting gift to two fellow council members? Why don't I just make a motion that we just defer this item to January, whatever the meeting is going to be.
However,
because if there's not a second on the motion, it's not going to pass.
right, but with the
So-
caveat that the council comes back with the understanding
Oh,
from
there'll be
the
a
other
full-
party
a full
that there's a signed
signed
deal.
agreement.
That would give you the time, Ken, to actually offer it up and say, it's deferred, but you give us this, it gives us incentive to actually close.
It's the best motion I've heard all day. I'll be in Big Sky, Montana on January 3rd. So
But is that too early though, Ken? I mean, is it too early? And what if, I don't want to defer an item to the first meeting if they're not going to be ready to have it back to us? Should it be that second meeting in January maybe?
I think the second meeting in January is
Okay.
probably the better play,
second
just
meeting in
because I
January.
probably need to be here when this comes back up.
Okay, all right.
I could phone it in.
All right,
So we're done.
but would you like
I'd like to make a motion that we defer.
to
The
to
Second
second
meeting,
meeting in January 2024.
There we
To allow
Your
our
last?
city attorney
Do
the
it.
opportunity
Do it right
to present to the opposing counsel, the opportunity to close, to sign the deal that this brings it to.
Yeah, and again,
He's not going to be presenting us
they've got it. They've got this offer. I'm just waiting for it to come back inside. I just thought I would try to get this done
just have to
now,
defer
but we
to
can
see
wait
what
till the
happens.
second meeting in January, and that's
it.
That's it.
This way, we ask them, you finish your end, and then we'll finish business on this end.
I got it. No worries.
You make a motion?
No one's made a formal
You making
motion.
that motion? Your last motion,
Yeah.
I think.
No, there's still a couple
I will
items.
make a motion that
Here you
we
go.
refer item number 23-342 to the second council meeting in January. Does someone have a date?
It's 10/7, it's 1/17.
17th. And in the meantime, instruct council to actually work with the applicant to actually get a signed contract prior to that.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Morgan and a second from Councilmember Jacobus to defer agenda item 23-342 to the January 17th meeting with everything else that Councilmember Morgan said. Everybody good with that? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Congratulations, new council.
Here, the final new business item that was moved is the approval of a professional services agreement between the City of Milton and PBK Architects, Inc., doing business as MSSA PBK for design services for Milton Fire Station 45. It is agenda item number 23333. Our Rob Del Ross.
Thanks, Timmy. Good evening, Mayor and
Special Fire
Council.
Chief.
Brief presentation for you tonight. This is a contract, a professional services agreement for design services for Fire Station 45. Give you some brief information about the station itself and then the design team, and then we'll move into questions. Bullets you see on the screen, this is the scope that we put into the design contract. These were our assumptions. I'm not going to go over every single one of them. Important point here is that no, I do not have a rendering of what the station is going to look like tonight. I know that's the most popular question. That will be coming in the future months as we move forward with this contract. Do not know number of stories, do not know configuration, entrances and exits. That's still yet to be determined. The desired aesthetic, this is something we put in the document, is a barn farmhouse look that complements its surroundings and resembles other city fire stations. Our plan for moving forward, we're planning to put the DRB, put the design package in front of the design review board. We're hoping for March. It could be April. We're going to be pushing that as hard as we can over the next several months. Another important note on 45, we are trying to, wherever we can, value engineer this from the start and try to look for cost savings on the front end instead of encountering a project that's over budget and trying to cut things on the back end. Second slide here, this is a list of additional assumptions that we put into the design scope for the building that reflects the contract price that I'm bringing you tonight. I'm not going to read every single one of these bullets. This picture is our future lot. This is what we're going to be looking at building on. This is not currently a whole parcel. This is about 4 different tracts that we're going through a minor plat process with land that we received from the state DOT to create this approximately 2-acre final area lot. And a little bit about our design partners. They were unable to attend tonight, but they're very excited. We've already met them in person. They have a couple offices in Georgia, have done over 500 plus projects in the state in the past 40 years, and some pictures of their past projects. That concludes my presentation, and I'm open to any questions you might have.
Yeah. Well, I asked to move this off the consent agenda so that we could have a discussion about it. My concern is, based on the location of where the station's going to go, and actually the chief and I had some conversation about this a couple of weeks ago, I'm wondering whether it wouldn't be wise for us to add some additional funding to this project to make it a 3-bay versus a 2. My concern is, based on where it's at, and where a lot of the growth is going to come, that it wouldn't be more fiscally responsible to go ahead and develop this as a 3-bag so that we have more operating space and can service more of Milton. So that was my issue, my concern.
I can answer that. Yeah. So from an operational deployment standpoint, a 2-bay is enough for us to operate. As you can see that for the requirements, where we need room is really expansion for growth is those office rooms, a CARES office. We're sort of crammed between our admin and training. That's why we put those requirements there. If you were to ask me, I mean, if you want my professional opinion, if you ask me, hey, I have extra money, I want to give it to you, I would say save it, because part of our community risk assessment that we did that was validated by the international accrediting body is moving Station 41 at some point into the heart of Crabapple somewhere. And we had discussions, we talked, maybe we'll make it a 1-bay station, but if you ask me, hey, I have money, I want to have you want to do something with it, I'll make that one a 2-bay station. So operationally, with 2 bays, we can function. Where it becomes an issue, for example, which Milton will never experience this, take, for example, a station in the city of Atlanta that's densely populated. A lot of times they will run 2-3 units out of that one station because of the volume of calls. They will run 30, sometimes 35 calls a shift. That's a lot for one engine company to run. So they end up double housing those stations. We will never experience that kind of call volume in one area. So as part of the design, we met with the team, we talked about it. There's also, that's 15,000 square feet that was trying to fit in that, just as is, to fit it on that lot. Plus there is obviously sewer that we have to account for the air, I mean, not sewer, sorry, septic, because you're talking about sewer.
I was like, don't say that word right now.
Sorry. No sewer for Station 45.
I take back everything I said earlier, Chief.
So see, the conversation leads to me. So the septic, obviously they're having that septic field and having the space. Also the placement of the station, all of this stuff, Rob and I met with the designers and went on site and looked at it. And also, obviously, we want to stay within budget. So I want to assure you, in my professional opinion and experience, 2-bay stations serves the needs of our community, because we would never run more than, if we run 2 units out of there, kind of like how 42 is, it would be an ambulance or a battalion. And our plan is to move battalion up to 45 because it's centrally located. That's about it. We would never run sort of 2 fully staffed fire apparatuses out of one station, just because we don't have the daily call volume for that particular area that could support that. If we had that, I would be the first one to ask for
So
that.
despite the idea that this is supposed to serve the needs for us for the next 30 years,
Yes.
you're comfortable that those 2 bays will be sufficient?
Absolutely. My professional opinion, again, looking at, we went by our crisis, our community risk analysis that we did document. It was validated, and that's the best thing. Like I said, if you'd like to invest in that, Station 41 would be relocating that and making that a 2-bay. That gives us an additional bay if we have the land.
So, makes sense. Councilmember Morgan?
Just a quick question. The Purvis alerting system, is that what you and I were discussing about? Is that something in this design so that today you've got to get out on our newest station, you've got to get out, hit the wall button if you want to trigger the stop signs?
The Purvis system is the alerting system that alerts us to a call. However, the Purvis system has the capability to activate a light as well. But Rob can speak a little bit more about this. Part of the Public Works grant that they got, the preemption system that we're going to install in the city's intersections, can actually be used to trigger that light, that emergency light. Once the engine gets a call, all they have to do is turn their lights on, it activates it and turns it red for traffic.
See it, and that's.
There's ways you can connect. You can do Purvis, or you can do it through the.
Well, what I would just suggest is, as you're designing this, make sure you've got that as essential, because from what I understand, it costs more when you try to retrofit. So make sure that we've got the capability at that new fire station. So let's look at it on the front end, make sure that that's incorporated into it versus having to address it later. And that's for a safety issue also of the firefighters, as well as any traffic that's going through there.
We completely agree.
Good, thanks.
Any public comment?
There are none.
Okay, close public comment, and we'll open it for a motion.
Mayor, Make a motion that we approve agenda item number 23-333.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Moore to approve agenda item 23-333. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, y'all.
Thanks, Chief.
The only thing I have to report on, Milton Football State Championship Parade, Wednesday, 5 o'clock. It's going to start at the high school. It's going to end at the Green. We're going to have some fun times. So
Wednesday
at 5 o'clock.
And I think Appen Media is doing a year in review on Wednesday. Y'all might have gotten a notice about that. Did you see that?
Yes.
Did you? Okay.
You're reaching for your microphone. Are you good, Steve?
I was doing it subconsciously.
Okay.
Thank
Councilmember
you.
Jacobus?
Yeah, I had a couple things. Last week, we had the opportunity on Friday, December 8th, to attend the first responders presentation of gift cards. And I know there was some stuff on the website and so forth, but I think it's just really amazing that we have a group led by Brian Dolan that puts together this whole project, and the Milton First Responders Foundation came up with $200 for every single first responder. I mean, I think that was just great. And it just kind of like bleeds in through that whole weekend. And then on later that day, we had the promotion of the chief, of the deputy chief, the two sergeants, just a great day. And then the weekend was topped off by pancakes with Santa.
And
Uh,
Mrs. Claus.
And let me tell you,
Mrs. Claus was
if you
awesome.
haven't been to this event, you got to go one time.
Yeah, you really do.
Just to see Mrs. Claus, if nothing else. But it really, to me, that whole weekend was just really talks a lot about Milton and how good we really are. But all those events were very positive, and I just think they deserved a little recognition. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you to Rick and to Paul. You've been a huge help for me getting up the learning curve. I mean, I really do appreciate your service, but I appreciate the time you took to help me to understand all the process and the procedures. So it really is appreciated. And thank you very much for all your service, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's it.
If I can say just one last thing, I just want to say, I really appreciate the 11 plus years, but especially the last 10 years, because I've seen so much good come out of Milton. And it really is, although I didn't get emotional, Paul, I contained it, to see.
You did better than me.
To see what actually has resulted, and knowing where we started, knowing sitting in people's living rooms, trying to get them to choose Milton instead of Roswell or Alpharetta, to see what we are and what a desirable place we are right now. I'm just proud to have been a part of this and appreciate serving with all of you guys too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep, Councilmember Moore?
Yeah, mine's actually not, in the fact that the way the agenda went down this evening because of the misadvertising of the winery, it precluded me from making a variety of comments I would have chosen to make into the record this evening. So I know that we are past that. And at this point, I'll save my comments for, I guess, some from the other side of the podium. However, I just make a strong recommendation that each of you take a hard look, go back. It's painful because the particular hearing where council heard that night, the first half of it is audio compromised. You cannot understand what Robin is saying in her presentation. You had the benefit of the presentation itself for the verbiage that she's speaking to, so you can get, and you can actually on YouTube hit a button that says do the closed caption, and it is still terrible, but you'll still get the point because of where she's going with the presentation slides. However, it does become crystal clear when it gets to the discussion and the input from the community and then the discussion from council. Former council member Bentley and I led a majority of the questioning that night. And oh my goodness, it is, I would just offer this for consideration. Mr. Attorney, City Attorney, I know at one point we talked about the difficulty of the position based on the zoning that has been granted to the landowner. However, I would just pose this for consideration, not for discussion this evening, is that when you have an applicant before you in the course of the discussion who is making what I believe to be binding comments to ensure that the vote is cast in their favor, that becomes, in my mind, part of the contractual agreement to have secured that vote. And I would ask that we just take a really hard look at the language that was shared that evening, in particular by the applicant. When it was initially a discussion to a great extent about accessory structure, it became secondary a discussion about the winery and promises that were made about what it would or would not be. And it was a hobby, not a business. And now we're in a very different place for a very different reason. And that language, I believe, that was shared that night by the applicant should be legally binding for what the community can expect council to uphold, which was the grounding for that, the cornerstone for the votes that were cast that night. I just offer that for your consideration. And with that, I also thank all of council again, like Rick did, for all you have meant to me during my tenure here. And I wish you all the best with some of the decisions you'll be facing in the future. You're going to have some big tasks ahead of you, but you're all very capable people. I look forward to Milton continuing to thrive the way that it has.
Thank you, Councilmember Moore. Thank you, Councilmember Morg. With that, I'll let one of y'all two close it out.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Morg and a second from Councilmember Moore to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you.